Hey friends, it's Christy. Welcome back to my channel. Welcome to my March 2023 Art Journal with Me video. So today I've got a bunch of stuff that I want to try to use on this spread. I don't have like a clear vision in mind yet. We're kind of going to go with the flow and see what happens here, but I do have some stuff pulled aside. So of course I have my art journal, which is always linked down below in the description bar. This is a 5.5 by 5.5 square art journal. I really like it. I also have a bunch of different little bits of ephemera that I've pulled out. I might not use all of this, but I've pulled out some different pieces. There's a page from Alice in Wonderland and a bunch of different floral stickers and stamps. We'll see what I end up using on there. I'm not exactly sure yet. I also have some papers from the Stamperia Forest collection. I've used this before on some other pages, but there's still lots more left, so I thought I might pull this back out again and do some kind of spring tones, and maybe I'm going to go with a fox theme today, so that's why I have that guy pulled out. I also have some washi tape, and I have some little bits of ephemera from a trip I just returned from. It was just a weekend trip. I've got some receipts in here and also a shopping bag from a bookstore that I visited, which I will talk about more in just a minute. And then I might use my Stabilo Woody 3-in-1 pencil crayons for the color. I'm not 100% sure on that yet, but that's the direction I'm thinking. So let's just jump in and get started, okay? Alright, so let's go ahead and open up to today's spread. And maybe I need to just grab a bulldog clip to hold that open for now, a little bit better. And we're going to start. I'm actually going to use this washi tape today. I think it goes a little bit more with the more brown tones, the vintage vibe that I'm going for. So I'm going to take some of this and just use that to seal off the spine so that I don't get any liquid going down in there or any glue or anything. Just helps to hold those pages together a bit more since my book is perforated. And tear off some at the top, and I'll probably have to take some scissors there just so the little bits don't end up kind of sticking the pages together. I'm going to fill in that gap there, and we'll just stick this one somewhere else, maybe over here. And let's take a little bit more. Oh, I like this one because it has an R, which is my last name starts with an R, so maybe we'll add that. It also kind of looks like the first letter of a fancy book page when the chapters started like that. So maybe we'll put this one up in that corner, see if that ends up staying. And maybe take a little bit more here. Get some over here. Go. It's okay if it has some wrinkles in it, that'll just give it some texture. And I'm not thinking about it too much, just sticking things down here and there, kind of breaking the blank page a bit so that it doesn't seem so overwhelming. And then maybe we'll come in with some of these little stamp stickers. I picked this one because I just got back from Maryland. It was my grandma's 90th birthday, so we had a big party for her, and a lot of my family lives in Maryland, so it was cherry blossom season when we were there. It was rainy while we were there, so we didn't get to see too much, but I thought these little pink delicate flowers kind of reminded me of cherry blossoms, so I thought that might be nice to incorporate a little bit. And then it was just very green and lots of fog, So I kind of liked these white flowers as well. Just kind of reminded me of the color palette from when we were down there. Because here it's still very brown. The snow has melted. I don't know if we've seen the last of it yet, but it's definitely very brown right now. So, yeah. Sticking those there and there. Let me see. Maybe this one as well. This one kind of reminds me of a old book cover, which kind of goes with my theme for today. Like I said, I did visit a bookstore while I was down there, so I'm going to talk about that in just a minute. But maybe we'll stick this one over here. There we go. What else do we have? We have these tickets. And like I said, I'm just layering things up right now. I'm not sure that everything that I'm sticking down is going to end up showing in the end product, but that's okay. We're building up those layers and just creating little highlights of things that might show up later on, you know. I like these little things that are transparent too, because you can kind of see through them to the things that are below, which just adds to all of the layers. Stick that over there. Stick there. Not trying to think about it too much, like I said. And I've got some other little florals. Maybe we'll stick this there. This one has like some pages of some letters and some ink and a writing pen, which I thought was nice. So we'll add that one. Maybe we'll stick it in this section here. And these florals can just go in that little area. I don't have to use everything I pulled aside, and I won't, but I just wanted to add little bits here and there. So maybe we'll take some of this page from Alice in Wonderland and add some of that as well. So I just need to grab my glue, which is the Elmer's Craft Bond Extra Strength, and just start tearing some of it and sticking it down here and there. Okay, I'll just pick a few places again, and hopefully some of it ends up showing. But anyway, we went to Maryland for my grandma's birthday. Like I said, we had a huge party for her. Everybody that I can think of ended up coming. It was really incredible to see everybody. Our family has gotten so big that it's really difficult for all of us to get together in one place. It's kind of been the last few years that some of us will go to some of the reunions and others of us will go to the other ones, kind of just based on which ones are closer to those who were living there. So some of them are closer for us and some are farther away, so we can't make it to everything. But for a 90th birthday, we definitely wanted to make the effort, even though it was kind of a long trip. It was about 7 hours without stops. We did make a stops that added to the trip, but it was like 6 hours and 42 minutes was the estimated time without any stopping. So just to give you an idea of, you know, it was a good, decent drive, but it was a really wonderful party. We got there on Friday evening and we stayed with my cousin, and then Saturday was the day of the party, but the party wasn't until late afternoon into the evening, so we had some free time during the day. So everybody kind of did different things, my kids and my dad and some of my well, I guess they're not my nephews, they're my cousin's sons. and her husband. They all went and played Topgolf, so they had a really good time. And then my husband and I took off and went to Annapolis, which was about 45 minutes away from where we were staying. And I had never been there, but I had heard really good things. Another one of my cousins, actually the one we were staying with, her brother lives in Annapolis with his family. So they told us a little bit about it. But there was a really cool bookstore that I wanted to visit there. It's a used bookstore called the Old Fox. And whenever I'm going to a place, if this is something you should know about me, maybe if you know me well, whenever I'm going to a place, kind of the first thing that I do is look up bookstores in that area, because I'm just curious as to what might be there, if there's anything good. And one of my favorite things in the whole world is to visit independent bookstores. So of course I did that and found the Old Fox and saw some pictures, and it just looked like a really cool place, some place I really wanted to visit. So that's what we ended up doing. So like I said, my husband and I got up early on Saturday morning and headed to Annapolis to find this bookstore, which was on Maryland Ave, if you've ever been to Annapolis. And we got there before the bookstore was actually open, but they had a coffee shop inside that was open. So we ended up being able to go inside, and they just kind of like blocked off sections of the bookstore so that you could only kind of hang out in the coffee area. But you could still see most of the bookstore, the first floor of the bookstore, from there. It was just kind of like little ropes and things that were blocking it off. So we got some coffee because we had left before breakfast. We got some coffee, and I got a scone. It was an apricots and cream scone, which was really good. My husband had a different like strawberry jam pastry. And we kind of sat, and my husband read the newspaper that was on the table there, and I kind of just looked around the bookstore. It was such a cool little bookstore. And then I kind of got up and walked around and took some pictures, because the coffee bar was pretty full, even though the bookstore wasn't even open yet. So I had a feeling that it was going to get a lot busier, and it would be harder to take some photos once the bookstore actually opened. So I went ahead and did that. You know, while it was still closed, I could still kind of just wander around a little bit and just not go in the areas that they wanted us not to. So I also wanted to add in some of the bag from the bookstore. So I thought I would just kind of tear that up. It already has kind of a hole in it, so we'll just use a little bit of this. So let's just take a section and see what we end up sticking here. But anyway, so Old Fox Books is really close to the State House in Annapolis, and it's actually named after George Washington. George Washington was called the Old Fox, and so that's where it gets its name. It's in a really historic part of town, and the building is just so cool and cozy. Honestly, I mean, probably aside from Powell's, which Powell's City of Books out in Portland does not compare to anything else, because it's just a mammoth store, an entire city block long. But aside from Powell's, this is probably my favorite bookstore I've ever been in. It's just so interesting and cozy. It has like fireplaces and big leather chairs and a rolling ladder that you can use to kind of get to different books that are up high, and just such a cool atmosphere. It has this basement room that's kind of creepy, but not like too creepy. There was like a fake skeleton down there, and old apothecary cabinets, and just, I don't know, it had such a cozy, cool vibe. I mean, if if I lived anywhere near there, it would be a place that I would visit like every weekend. I could totally see myself back in my school days just hanging out there. And obviously I wasn't the only one because there were tons of people in there. Like I said, even when we first got there and only the coffee shop was open, there was a lot of people in there just sitting and discussing books. And one girl was even reading like a paper she wrote and getting advice from a friend and stuff like that. So it just totally would have been my vibe. I wish it weren't so far away because I would absolutely love to go back often, but I probably will never get to go there again in my life because it's just so far away. I like this part that says Erie Bicycles because I live in Erie, Pennsylvania, which I've told you guys before. But anyway, so I just thought that would be a cool detail to kind of throw in there, even though it doesn't really have anything to do with the bookstore, but it is where I came from to go to the bookstore. So stick that in there and see what happens if it ends up staying or not. Maybe we'll stick it all the way over to the side. Maybe right there. But yeah, it was just the coziest bookstore. It had like creaky old wooden floors and just so many little knickknacks and clever, cool little things tucked between the books. I just loved it. I loved it so much. And I almost didn't get to go because I had looked at it before, but you know, my kids are not big readers, especially my older two, but really none of them are anymore. I think I'm going to use this page here for some stuff. And then I don't know if I'm going to take this fox or if I'll use this smaller one. I don't know yet, but we'll get to that. But anyway, I'm going to start adding in some of this here. But I didn't think we were going to get to go because when I mentioned it to my family, they were like, oh, you know, they don't have a lot of patience for me and my love of bookstores. But then, you know, they ended up hanging out with their cousins, or is it second cousins, third cousins? My cousin's kids. So anyway, they ended up hanging out with them and having a good time. And so I got to go off and do what I wanted as well without any fear of, you know, like making somebody else do something they didn't really want to, I guess. So that was good. I'm so glad I got to go because it would be a sad thing if I had never gotten to experience it because I just loved it so much. And it really made me start to think about, you know, I've been thinking a lot about writing again. For those of you who know, I used to write quite a lot. It's my number one passion, or it was, and then with the pandemic, I kind of have gotten away from it because it's just, there's never any quiet time in my house because my kids are home a lot. Even though my one that's in college, he still lives at home and has remote days as well. And even now that he's back to school, like he's still in and out quite a bit. So let me see. I do like this bird here. I wonder if I can incorporate this bird somewhere. Maybe in a smaller piece. But yeah, I'm so glad I got to go because I just absolutely loved it. And if I ever write a story that has a bookshop in it, and one of my ideas that I've kind of been thinking a lot about this year, it's a series that one of the people works in a bookstore, and it gave me a lot of ideas for like little details that I would want to incorporate in my own imaginary bookstore. I also think it would be so cool to own a bookstore someday, but I don't know if that'll ever happen just because as much as I can't think of anything better than to be surrounded by books all day. I don't know that I would love the business side of it, you know, like being the people's boss. And you know, I love to travel so much, and not being able to get away because it's your business. I think that would be really difficult for me. So I don't know if that would be very realistic, but yeah, anyway, it's something to think about. Maybe something like that. But anyway, even if I never own a bookstore in real life, I can at least take those details and try to capture them in a story someday or something like that. I don't know. I took lots of pictures so that I could remember it, you know, and keep it in mind. So if you're curious to see those, I actually shared some of them over on my writing and bookish Instagram. I have two separate ones, one for crafting and one for reading and writing. So it's Christiana Roiling Writes. I'll put it on the screen here in case you're curious, but you can go and check out my pictures from Old Fox books if you're interested. And you can even follow me if you're a book lover as well. I post a lot about the books that I'm reading, and just what, you know, what I get up to in the reading and writing realm. So yeah, if that interests you at all, you can follow me over there. But let me see what else I want to add here. I do like these little ferns. I think those are cute. I'll just take a little piece of it, add it here and there. I don't know. Just trying to fill up the page a little bit and add more color. One of my favorite things about spring is the green, you know, that starts to bud up, because it's here in the winter, it's such a long season and everything is just so drab and colorless for such a long time. And when the green finally starts to pop back out again, it just makes my heart so happy, you know, to have the new life blossoming again, all the little buds on the trees. We don't have any of that yet, but hopefully it won't be too much longer here before we get some of that. I'll stick some of that in there. But Annapolis was such a cool little town to visit. We walked up and down Maryland Avenue and popped into all the little antique stores, and then we went over to Main Street. There was another little bookstore there. I think it was called like Back Creek Books or something like that. It was another used bookstore. It didn't have any of the charm of Old Fox, but I did find a little a diary actually of someone from World War II, like a published diary. It wasn't like a old-fashioned handwritten one. It was actually published by somebody. But I thought that was kind of cool, so I picked that up. And what else? Sorry, I had to stop the video for a minute. My youngest son just came home from school, and so the dog was barking like crazy. But anyway, while I was waiting, I did cut out this fox image from the larger piece of paper just to see which one I want. I'm thinking I might go with the larger one. I like some of the details from this piece as well though, so I might like try to incorporate some of that behind. I don't know. I'm going to just tear it and kind of see what it looks like. But before I had to stop the video, I was talking about like what else we did in Annapolis that day, so we were on Main Street. So we went to a restaurant for lunch that my cousin had recommended, called Chicken Ruth's. It was like a total dive. Nothing fancy whatsoever by any stretch, but the food was so good and it just had like a charming atmosphere. It was one of those places that I would probably never think to go into on my own without a recommendation, also because it was like super busy. So I was just thinking, you know, if it had just been us, I probably would have said, oh, let's try to go somewhere else. But we actually got seated really quickly. But it had the most delicious crab cakes I've ever had in my life. They were so good. Yeah, if you are ever in that area, I do highly recommend it. And just keep in mind, like, it is not fancy at all. It looks like it really needs like a renovation, a remodel. It's very, very, it's just a dive. It's like what you would think of as a dive, but the food was so good. I mean, I don't think it was like unsanitary or anything like that. I wouldn't say that. It just looked like nothing had been changed since, like, I don't know, the 50s, the 30s, I don't know. It was like really, 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 really vintage. And not in like the remodeled kind of vintage way. It just looked like it had been that way forever. I think it was on Diners, what is it called? Diners, Drive-Ins and Dives, whatever that show with Guy Fieri. I think it was on that show, my cousin said at some point. And there was actually a sign in there that it may have been in a Clint Eastwood movie. Was that right? Or John Wayne? I don't know. But anyway, it had some history to the area as well. So it was just a really neat place. I'm glad that we decided to try it out. Yeah, because like I said, it isn't a place that I would have thought to go on my own. But I'm glad we tried it because the crab cakes were so good. I mean, the best I've ever had. Like I said, it was just incredible. There was like, you know, just not a lot of filler at all, like barely any filler, and like really big chunks of crab cakes. It was a little bit pricey, I will say, but totally worth it. I'm really glad that we gave it a try, and that we ordered the crab cakes. Was when I first saw the price, I think it was like $22 or something for the crab cakes plus 2 sides. And I was like, wow, that's kind of a lot for lunch, but I'm really glad that we decided to get it because it was amazing. Both of my husband and I, we like couldn't stop talking about it later on. So definitely worth it if you get a chance to go. Do I want anything else from here? I'm trying to think. I kind of like some of this. Maybe tuck a little bit of this. Yeah, I should stick a little bit of this back behind the fox, although it's right in that crease, so it's a little bit difficult. So then we walked around some more and visited some other little shops that were really cool. We walked down to the pier. It was a really foggy day though, so we couldn't see a lot, but was still kind of cool just to experience. And then, maybe not. Okay, and then we went for dessert to a place called Kilwin's. Maybe put some of the wood up at the top. Let me try that. So we got ice cream there, and I got the turtle ice cream in the homemade waffle cone, which was really good. My husband got, I don't know. Maybe a little bit over there. I think he got blueberry peach maybe, or something like that. I don't know. Or did he get butter pecan? He normally gets butter pecan. He might have gotten that. I can't remember. I didn't have any of it because I actually couldn't even finish mine. It was such a big scoop. And I don't eat a lot of sugar these days, so I ended up not being able to finish it, and he had to finish mine for me. So I didn't bother trying any of his since I knew I couldn't even finish my own, but it was really delicious though. Alright, I think I like a little bit of this wood texture, this lighter color that I'm just going to add in a few little places maybe, just to break up some of the green. Maybe I'll add a little bit more of these like border pieces up toward the top. So yeah, that was our fun day in Annapolis. Absolutely loved it. I would go back if I ever got the chance, but I don't know when I will get a chance to go back again, and you know, I might not. So I'll put that there. That would be a good place to put my date later on, just to have a little spot of something light there. Do I want anything up here? I'll tear a little bit of this and see if maybe that side. So now I'm just at the stage where I'm just kind of filling in little blank spaces, any place that I feel like just could use something to break it up a bit. Little extra pops of color here and there using some of these little scraps that are left over. Kind of adds a little weight to the corners. Okay, I still feel like I need something up here. So let me just look through my little bits. We'll just stick that up there. So after our day in Annapolis, we headed back to my cousin's house, and then we had rented like a little community center in their little neighborhood where we had the party, and it was such a good time. And I think my grandma was really happy just to see everybody who had come. I mean, there were people there that I hadn't seen in so many years, but like everybody came to just celebrate with her. She is such a wonderful lady, and you know, you could see that just by how many people showed up to help her celebrate. It was really, really special. So it was a wonderful weekend, and I'm so glad that we went. I think that's pretty good. I don't know if I need to do much else. Maybe something right in here in this little area. Do I have like a little scrap of something to break? Maybe even just something like that, something simple. My hands are getting super sticky. Okay, I think I'm gonna go wash my hands and we'll go from there. All right, so I'm gonna open my white gesso. Actually, I had to have my son open it for me again. I always have such a hard time getting this container open. Goodness. It's a really old container. I've had it for so many years. I mean, probably 10 years, 10 years. So it is really old, so that's probably why it gives me so much difficulty. But anyway, with my tendonitis on top of it, it's getting hard to open stuff, man. So anyway, I went up and asked my oldest to open it this time. So he had a little hard time getting it too at first, so was really stuck on there. Anyway, I'm just taking the gesso and pouncing it here and there to kind of knock back, you know, some of the lines between stuff, just blurring those lines a bit and making everything feel a little bit more incorporated. I completely apologize if you just heard my children yelling. That's what it's like to have three, I always say teenage, but actually only one of them is still a teenager. Well, my middle son is 19, but only for a couple more months. So then he'll be 20. So anyway, they're grown, but they still act like teenagers some of the time and start wrestling and being boys. Hopefully it wasn't too distracting for you. Like I mentioned, visiting bookstores is one of my absolute favorite things to do. So if you guys know of any cool independent bookstores in your area, or if you've been to any on your travels, definitely leave me some recommendations, because I'm always looking for new places to go and visit and just kind of see what else is out there. I just find that so intriguing. It just makes me so happy to see, you know, the way that they are set up and stocked and staffed, and whether they have little coffee shops or sell little bookish gifts or any of that, have little study areas, places for author events. Like, I'm just so intrigued by all of that. So if you have any ideas for me, definitely let me know. All right, I think that's good for the gesso. When I got up to wash my hands, the dog ran in here. Gemma did not want to be, she doesn't like all the noise either, so when the boys are roughhousing, she comes and hides in here. So hopefully she won't make any noise or decide to play with any squeaky toys or anything while I'm doing this. Oh, it's so hard to find time to film these videos, you know, because my house is just never quiet, which is why I stopped writing, you know, during the pandemic. My house is just never quiet. It's never quiet. And so it just makes it a little bit difficult to film videos like this when, you know, everybody has to be silent, because all three of my kids are home right now. They're all upstairs now, and I had to please ask them to just, you know, keep it way down until I finish. But that's just the way it is, you know, and I am happy to have my kids still at home. I know that that's going to be a short time, so I'm not in any hurry for them to go, but you know, it is a little bit limiting at times. But anyway, I just put a layer of clear gesso on there, and I'm gonna let that dry, and then I'll be right back. Alright, so everything is dried, and then I tore up this little parking ticket that I had from our trip that I think I'm going to add in now that everything is dried, because it is on that thermal paper, which if you get it wet or if you heat it up, the ink will disappear, which I have learned the hard way in the past many times. So I think I'm going to add that now, and then I just will not, you know, add any heat to that or any liquid. I'm just going to use my glue stick here. I really wish that the old Fox had given us like a bookmark or anything when we checked out, so I could have used that. That would have been so nice. Or if they had had any kind of ephemera at all, like a calendar of events or anything at all where I could have put their logo on this page, that would have been cool. But Yeah, they didn't have anything like that, unfortunately, so there wasn't really anything I could put in here. Although, I bet I have my receipt tucked in one of those books. And, you know, it'll be the same issue as this. I can't get it wet, but I bet it has the logo at the top, or at least says Old Fox Books. Hold on one second. I'm going to go look through the book that I got and see if there's a receipt inside. So yes, I did find it. So I'm going to go ahead and add this and hope that it stays. I think it's not only like when it's subjected to heat, but I think just over time these kind of don't last. If anybody knows of any kind of like fixative or anything you can use to preserve them, that would be nice to know, but probably not very many people are trying to save receipts or things, so I don't know if there is something like that out there, but we'll just stick it in like maybe right there. That looks good to me. Well, let's start adding in some color. So I think I'm going to start with this shade here and kind of see what that does, if that adds a little bit of something here. Gives it more of that hazy green look that I think of when I think of spring. Just those foggy, overcast, you know, days that are just tinged with the green from all of the budding foliage. You just add that here and there in a few places. Adding it to this receipt as well, so it's not so stark white there against everything else on the page. I guess it's not glued down very well. Stick that down a little bit better so it's, oh no! It's kind of tearing up there. See if I can patch it back together. See, that's where the clear gesso would come in handy because it would really seal that in, but it's, you know, too much of a risk to try to add that and then have all of the wording, you know, just fade away. So yeah, if you own a bookstore, it'd be nice if you had bookmarks or something like that, just for people to hang on to and, you know, have a little nostalgia. I think that's always a really nice touch. They actually did have a little cup of bookmarks by the register, but they weren't their own. They were other stores. So like I actually found one that was like from Powell's. That was one that I didn't have, so that's the one that I took home, but it really doesn't have anything to do with this place. So that's why, but they didn't have any of their own. But I thought that was really cool since it is a used bookstore. I'm sure they find lots of bookmarks and stuff like that in the books that people bring to, you know, sell back. And I thought that was really nice that they just put them by the register free for whoever wanted to take them. So that was really, really thoughtful. But I do wish that I had one from them, so, you know, that I could keep it, because I definitely use those that I pick up, and it makes me think back fondly on the store where I got them. So yeah. Anything else? I don't know. I might bring a little bit of this brown in just to kind of dull the green down in places. Let me see. I don't want too much of it, but just a little bit here and there might just add something. to the shadows. Yeah, I do like that brown mixed in. Just dulls down some of the brightness so it's not too in your face, you know. But I did buy a long sleeve t-shirt there. That's another thing that I love to pick up at bookstores that I visit. I love kind of wearing my bookstore merch, so I'm always a huge fan of bookstores that sell their own t-shirts or sweatshirts or whatever. Yeah, because I wear those a lot. I actually wore my one from Old Fox Books on the drive home from Maryland. It was really comfy. So that was cool that they had those. All right, well, I think it's time to find a title. So I'm going to go to my Tim Holtz Small Talk stickers and search through and see if there's something that I want to use here. So let me just see here. All right, I think I've got one here. This doesn't really have much to do with what I've been talking about, but it did have things to do with the conversations that my husband and I had on that day that we were driving around. So I think I'm going to do this. So maybe do what you love. Own your dreams. So on there straight, kind of. And be open to whatever comes next. I think that's good. All right, let me grab a gel pen. Just trace around that a bit. I need a new gel pen. This one is getting dry on me. Let's draw a little extra attention to it. Okay, I'm going to take some gold paint here from my Gansai Tambi Starry Colors and just do a little bit of splatter. This side as well. Alright, so I've got my date stamp and today is March 29th. So let me just change that. And then I'm using my Ranger Archival ink. Make sure that I've got that going the correct way. Get that nice and inked up. And I'm going to put that right here. Perfect. Alright, that is going to complete my March Art Journal with Me page. I hope you guys enjoyed it and enjoyed hearing of my adventures this month down to Maryland. So if you did, please give the video a like and subscribe if you'd like to. I'll be back next month for another Art Journal with Me video, and I'll be back a ton in between with card making videos. So thank you so much for watching. Have a great day. I'll see you soon. Bye bye.